Welcome. This is Sienna Lea from Rise Multiversity and Shadow Synthesis, and I am here with Marco Missinato for an amazing, I am sure, adventure. I would like to just contextualize this time with Marco so that we can dive into the essence as quickly as we can of this remarkable man's energetic and contribution at this time. I am deeply honored and excited to bring this to the Rise Multiversity community. And I'm going to break it down very succinctly why I feel that this music is absolutely essential for the moment that we're in. So Marco's is an artist and a creative communicator who uses the power of his heart, inspired creativity, music, words, and photography to deliver supportive messages to people, to inspire others to dare into the voice of their heart and overcome the fears of limited beliefs and consequences. And most importantly, to produce creative experiences that support and facilitate the release of blocked emotion within ourselves and trigger the process of remembering who we truly are. So welcome, Marco. It's wonderful to be here with you.
Thank you, Sienna. It's really a privilege for me to be with you and your lovely people.
I have been absolutely immersed in your music, on the Unfolding Secrets. No, am I saying it right?
The new album is actually called Journey of the Soul. Unfolding Secrets was the album before, which are actually very complementary energetically one to the other. They work very well together.
Well, I was just, preparing for the interview, and I just kind of turned on the music, and I got completely flattened. I went into an altered state, and I wrote this in the process of what I experienced. And I'd like to just share this before we really get into a wonderful, juicy discussion with you about your life, who you are, and how you managed in the world that we live in to bring such an uncorrupted expression of love and creativity, which is almost extinct at this point with everything they're trying to do to us. So welcome, brother. I absolutely am so excited to even be able to be a part of bringing this to people. You know that my work is quantum disentanglement, shadow work, and so a lot of the people in my community are really pulling off layers. And I wanted to just speak to the community about why this music is feels to me to be a key component in bringing us out of this matrix of lies and deception. So this will be just a couple pages, and then we're going to dive into the interview.
Okay? Very good.
All right. So Marco, I've spent the last days listening to your audiobook and your music. I felt a deep soul alchemy within the core of my energy quanta, clearing, cleansing, and rising up. Your music is deep, emotional, and always leading towards transcendence and transmutation. Your story is so true, uncorrupted, authentic, and sweet. The music is medicine in a very palpable fashion, magnificent, simple, and accessible. Most of the people I work with in shadow synthesis have junked their lives, i.e. made choices out of fear and deep wounding to bend over and contract and serve this control matrix. Many of them are in the system supporting the very thing that wounded them so deeply, terrified to get out and see the truth of the imposition upon us. Most have only a faint glimmer of the source, spirit, soul spark that they are. But the trauma has them shut down, fearful, defensive, and blocked. The return to innocence seems remote for many who have compromised their creativity, imagination, and heart. But the medicine you offer needs to penetrate and can into the hearts and minds of people who know they wish to live a life of self-motivation, of true, authentic will, of activism for humanity, but cannot find the way through. Your music calls us home to that core of uncorrupted love. I felt it saturate my DNA and life and deepen and heal me. It felt as if the codes of my original design were catalyzed through the inspiration of your music. In the quantum disentanglement work I do, it is a deep dive over several months into the forced agreements, contracts, implants, courting due to trauma-based mind control many of us are under. Most people are dissociated from what they need to heal, themselves, their own essence, their tenderness, their openness, their connection to source, their connection to uncorrupted love. Most have never experienced this. Many never. So how are we to rewrite where we've junked our lives? Most feel a big hole in their hearts and are fearful to go within. Your music provides a bridge. It shifts us and deepens us at the same time. I found your music helps to clear our distortions at a DNA quantum level, which involves our birth, our damaged little inner ones, our ancestral DNA that's been spliced with hostile alien races, and the core wounding and beliefs that tie us to a matrix of madness and lies. We need to experience in another way to break our chains with darkness. Marco, I feel your music is a fine tool to help with this. We have this new inspiration to put into the void, made from losing our connection to ourselves and reality. Many of us are afraid to go within and to face our shadows. As infants, if we face the truth of our parents' inability to meet our needs, we might have died. Early on, we split from reality to avoid the truth, to survive. This traps us in unfelt, dissociated, deep pain, which can be forever, but it doesn't have to be. Your music and book invite us in to rewrite the lies that we are not lovable, that there is no hope for us, to find the love we needed to anchor into a life of meaning. No more than now, more than ever, we need our humanity back. As this current war is against us, our true essence, our codes of creation, our superpowers, and our hearts. We cannot afford to hide these gifts and challenges from growth, for growth from ourselves any longer. Your music is shelter in the storm, sanctuary and solace, inspiration to reach with passion and intent for ourselves now more than ever. True alchemy at a sound frequency level that goes into the wounding at a subatomic level. I recommend this to all of my students working in quantum disentanglement, shadow work, and soul sovereignty as a path of liberation from the dark controllers and for all of us. Thank you for bringing us this amazing tool, Marco. finished my spiel. I'm done. Yes. How did you ever survive this far with an uncorrupted heart? I'm like, do you feel like talking a bit about yourself and how you got from being born into the, I mean, okay. The audiobook is a story of a boy. Yes? Is this boy
It
you?
is. Yes, in many ways it is me. Yes, absolutely.
Well, I mean, I've been here for a long time. And to feel that frequency of uncorrupted love is so, so rare. So bravo. I don't know what you did. But obviously the path to keep this, I mean, I'm sure you're wounded. I'm sure you have shadow. I'm not trying to paint you as some, perfect person, but the music is so pure that it really does evoke that memory. And I don't know how most people just lose it by the time they're an adult or by the time they're even a small boy.
Yes. Well, there is nothing wrong in losing it because that's the experience that most of us or many of us choose, and is as equal experience, as valid as losing it a little bit or not losing it at all. It's just tuning in different frequencies based on what kind of intensity and separation you want to experience for your journey. So it's not that there is someone that is better or is slower or higher. It's just the choice of the soul that is made at the moment of the incarnation. In particularly, now we are talking about this incarnation in this journey, in this earth journey. And so most of the people choose to sign a full contract of full forgetfulness. And some people carry with themselves a little bit of residual, some memories, and some people remember a lot. And that gives to the journey different challenges and different color, So
really, this new work of yours, and
yeah.
with the new audiobook that you're launching now, is a sort of a step-by-step journey of the losing it and remembering it in some ways, isn't it?
Yes, and that's what this journey is all about.
Okay, so maybe I could throw out some key words because I went through the entire audiobook, and
Yes.
so I'm just going to throw out some key words, and maybe you could shine some light on that aspect that you take and the music is geared to take people energetically through all of the places where they were compromised.
Yes, in fact, it is, in my case, it was the music that created the story.
Really?
Yes, it was the music. At a certain point, so Journey of the Soul, it's a personal journey that started about 3 years ago, when again, the internal creative forces want to give birth to something. And so I started to go back once again, into the creative process, which inevitably took me to the unknown, to the mystery. And once we all have that opportunity to fully embrace the mystery of life by fully embrace the creative process that comes from our imagination. So 3 years ago, I felt again the pull of my imagination that wants me to dare into something new, something want to come in. And I started to, as usual, download information in terms of sounds, in terms of music, in terms of feeling, in terms of emotions, and in terms of visions, And then the second step, of course, and that's a step where many failed, is to take action, because you can have the most beautiful vision, but if you don't take action, nothing happened. Mm-hmm. And so the action took me to go to several parts in the world I was first in the Netherlands, and then I was in Los Angeles, and I was in Utah, then I was in Colorado, then I was in Hawaii. It was a whole journey. I didn't know what was going to be the next step. I only know the now and the step that I had to take now. But anyway, as the music was taking shape and taking his own expression, I started to see between the tracks and the title of the tracks a pulsating energy that wanted to burst in terms of a story. I felt that every chapter, every book, every track, every song has like some narrative that wanted to come in. And so as I was progressing into the shape of the arrangements of the music, I started to take notes. I started to write ideas. And then little by little, this is a story. I start to see a pattern, a thread between tracks. Track number 1, track number 2. The titles were telling me there was like a sequence of it really looks like a sequence of a chapter of a book and so I started to allow myself to go into that. So at the end, when I was stepping into the mixing of the album, which is a very, very important phase of the music production, I started to intensify my writing. And then at a certain point, I had a friend that invited me to visit her and her family in Utah. And I went there, and I found myself in a perfect scenario for me to go deeper into whatever wants to come through my words, wants to come in. And so basically in a few weeks, the story of the book came out, and it was completely triggered by the music. So it was the music that was guiding me to reveal a story that as I was writing, I realized that actually this is me. It's my story.
Wow.
You know? And so then I completed the story. And then, of course, pretty much like when you have a beautiful song and you want the most beautiful singer to sing it, I found I was searching for someone that could write it really beautifully. And I found that person in my dear friend, Wenda Blake, she's a wonderful writer. And I shared with her the story, and she got very excited. And so from Utah, I went to Colorado. And I spent a few days with her. I told her the story, and I told her what was the intent and what was the frequencies of the story. And she embraced it. And she fully worked on it wonderfully. And while she was doing that, I went to other location because I was working on the mastering of the album, other things. And then I felt that the story needed a support. I felt like I started to write, revisit the chapters, and I started to write information that support the story almost like in a sort of a tutorial that explain why the character in the story made certain choices, how he got there, how the whole thing came through. And so I call that part of the book the process. So now the book is 2 parts, the story and the process. And so at the end, I have the full body of work, which first expresses itself with the music, then with the story, and then with the process. And this was about a 3 years journey, which ended up a few weeks ago, because then I was very busy in packaging, creating the graphic, and then created the web, the videos, and finishing to mastering the song in 432, which is the frequencies that I wanted to use for the music.
So much.
Yeah. So and now, of course, the next intent it will be to create an experience, a live experience out of this body of work, and this live experience most likely it's going to be a blending of live performances with musicians with sort of a workshop or a seminar or a retreat.
Yes, that would be excellent.
Yeah, so that's something that I eventually will start to work on the new year, because right now the next 6 months are going to be quite intense for the collective, and I don't think it's a good time to birth something in terms of location and gatherings. But from what I understand and what I can feel, the situation should open up in the first few months of 2021, and that's where I will start to work on a possible live experience.
Beautiful. I found that different segments, and this may be what you're talking about, were like Zen koans. And well, in the shadow work, we find a core belief that a soul fragment has that is completely self-sabotaging the patterning and the manifestation. And it's like you hit on the medicine to heal, like I am worthless, or my broken heart, or for the themes such as cosmic abandonment, separation, connection to the family. I would like to go through some of these. The core ones that we all got train wrecked in. It's like you break them down into this exquisite piece, and that has the codes for healing that core belief. It just blew my mind. And it's amazing. You're saying you did not even create this out of your mind and then make it fit your mind. You completely surrendered and let this come through your divine connection, or what words you like to use, and it informed you, and you stayed open in the not knowing. This is such a non-egoic exercise, and that process that you went through is what we all need to learn to bring in that kind of purity, is because everything within this matrix is so corrupted, and the mind seems to be just pulling patterns out of the past rather than bringing this new. And I mean, if somebody said to me, well, in one word, who is Marco? I would say an alchemist, a very advanced alchemist using music as your medium. Very profound alchemy. Yeah. So.
Well, our natural organic state of being is we are all creators. So what you just described is natural for everybody. Once we end this temporary journey of forgetfulness and separation, which is teaching us a great deal, and we go back to our blue original print, what I'm explaining to you will be normal for everybody. It will be the normal way. Of course, we are creators. We create, and of course, there is no ego involved because there is no attachment, there is no neediness or anything. We just create because it gives us joy, and because this is our responsibility to exercise the gifts that reside within us in order to continue expanding our self-knowing and also contribute to the better life. That's really not a big deal for a normal situation. Okay, that's the natural way of being. Now, of course, we are at this moment, we are, after 10,000 years of programming in an inverted matrix, we all have lost that or temporarily lost it. And so people like me who are not necessarily better, they are just, they position themselves, they offer themselves into the physical experience as someone that can be in the bridge, because what is happening right now, the whole world is fading out, is collapsing, and this dream is collapsing. There is a new dream that is coming out, and there is a bridge. And so there is quite a number of people like you, like me, and many, many others who have positioned themselves in the bridge in order to help and facilitating the rest of humanity to cross the bridge and go to the other side.
Marco, this is such an amazing bridge because this media barrage, this mind control now coming, I mean, it's been forever. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nothing new, but oh my goodness. I mean, with the intention to give up hope, to make us just think that anybody who comes up with hope is a psyops. I mean, I hear this from a lot of people. Oh, those people are just trying to give you hopium, a false idea, but they want us to think they're so big, they're so bad. Team Dark, the Dark Lords, whoever you want to call them, the corrupt invert matrix is all powerful, and we can't do a bloody thing. And so many of us have Stockholm. We're tied to our abusers. We don't even know what it feels like. Our bodies shrink away from love because it opens up that deep brokenheartedness that we're running from since the fetus time. So how did you not break, or did you break from the story of this beautiful audiobook, which I got through in an afternoon? It's just so zen. It's just so beautiful. I mean, I've listened to it twice now already. To me, it's medicine. I'm just listening to it because it's like I need to tell my cells there's another way. It's like we've forgotten that the only way is to cut these deals with our abusers to survive this reality. So I guess this work is all about how to bring it back and allow it to fill us again.
The music I'm using for now, until now, I've been using music as a vehicle to trigger the emotions that are stuck within ourselves, that needs to be acknowledged and released, appreciated and let go. So that's how I'm using music right now. There are other ways to use music, but intuitively I felt that it's important right now to really address deeply the emotions, particularly those emotions that stuck us into the forgetfulness, like what you mentioned, the abandonment and many other emotions. But all these emotions are fundamentally beautiful gifts. These are all beautiful experiences because the abandonment is just part of an hologram, but it doesn't really exist. There is no such a thing as separation. We just accept the idea of abandonment as an experience. We accept to get lost into it so that we experience an illusionary, a temporary fragmentation. In the case of our Mother Earth here, sometimes very severe fragmentation, but still it's just an illusion, it's just a dream that we are going to wake up from and continue our journey, because from the soul point of view, the Earth experience is a blink of an eye.
And this essence, whatever you call it, spirit, hardcore essence, core star essence, source essence, higher self, everyone has different names for it. There's, through everything we've gone through, it's so amazing. Through whatever torture, whatever horrific thing, there's a part of us that has been bearing witness in loving compassion, right? And it isn't wounded. There's a part of us that is eternally innocent. And no matter how many times we've been raped or molested or brought down or degraded or abused, there is a part of us that is uncorrupted still. Is that true?
Of course, absolutely. That's our truth. Because everything that you mention in terms of fragmentation, separation, it all comes from a little tiny device that is in our mind, in the left brain, which is the ego. Is the ego that is telling us all the stories. And it's wonderful. Through the ego, we are getting, again, a wonderful series, a very intense series of experiences. But again, these are just illusionary, temporary experiences. So yes, that's it's just a journey that we choose in order to mirror ourselves and go back even more full of light than before. And the best way to do that is through the creative process, through the imagination. And that's the part that you are talking about. That we have, no matter how separated we are, no matter separated we are, we will never completely lose the connection with our source, because we are source. We are all God. We are all part of source. And so probably one of the things that needs to be done is not to take too much seriously anything. Don't take too seriously anything.
How can you not take this serious, Marco? It's horrible out there. People dying and children hurt. We don't even want to talk what's happening to the children. Yes. Oh my gosh.
No, it's true, of course. But it's all about eventually being able to see the perfection in everything. And in that seeing, mastering the idea of neutrality, which is basically the idea of unconditional love. So, and that's why it's important to connect with our emotions and release them, and release those emotions that are not organic, those contractive emotions that are generated by the story of the ego. Let them out so that we can connect with our true emotion, with the organic emotion, which are joy, which are love, which are compassion, which are enthusiasm, fun, celebration, pretty much like the frequencies of the dolphin. That's why the dolphin appear in the last chapter of the book, in the last song of the album, because the dolphins represent in basically our true essence that wants just to celebrate life.
Yes. Well, the thing that puts you in a league almost of your own is the new age. There's some really great new age music, but the depth of the feeling that your music evokes, I mean, it is profound, symphonic, intense, as deep as you go, purging of the dark side. Bringing that online, because why? Because what they're trying to do is harvest that energy. The non-source beings, the predators, they live off of the inversion, the negative, lower density emotion. And we're so terrified of that because of core beliefs from really early infancy that if we feel the abandonment, we will die. So we have this program, avoid the depth of the truth of your feeling, it will kill you. But your journey is going into the heart of darkness and realizing this is not going to kill you. This is the path to liberation. This is gorgeous. It's deep. It's purging. Yes, you're crying. Your chest is heaving. Tears are dripping down. And it's glorious. And then that part of you that's been hiding, that has that huge charge, now reintegrates, and it gives you the passion to go forward and break through the matrix and you can't make it out without your emotional body working with you in a direction. And that I have very rarely is somebody as transcendent with a message as transcendent as yours actually also bringing the depth of that pain to the table. So I think that is groundbreaking and essential. I mean, it's the core of the work I do too, but to bring it through, it's a razor's edge, because, when you fall into the abyss, it can eat you alive. You can never come out. But the music, the inspiration is this call to rise. It's this call to elevation that opens the heart, that gives the heart a momentum out of the darkness. That's the alchemy. I feel that your music actually embodies that. And,
in fact, this music, you can say that is really it's not for everybody, because you see, what is going on here, in my perception, is not so much the problem of the evil and the dark forces. The biggest problem is the awakening of the masses. That is the challenge that we are facing here, because we are dealing with a collective that is equally equal to imagine someone that has been inside a prison for all his life and
Yes.
hasn't even ever never seen the light. And now all of a sudden some say, hey, here's the door, you can open and get out. That's extremely scary for most of the people. In the same thing, the intensity of my labor, it can be very scary and intimidating for a lot of people that they don't have the ground to go deeper into that level of connection with the self and with their own emotions.
Yes, they've mind controlled us to be allergic to ourselves, to run from ourselves into the hive mind, into all the social conditioning, into the consumerism, into the drugs, into whatever addiction, anything to escape the self. They've done a very thorough and clever job to embed that deeply within us, and it's absolutely not going to get the results that we want. But yeah, that's why the seduction with the great beauty into the profound depths is a very beautiful gift. But it's true. If I saw this in prison, uh, in that if you, because I worked with repeat uh, offenders, I worked in New Zealand with street kids, with Maori street kids that have been terribly abused, and they go in and they come out and they go in and they come out, because why? It's just like if you open the door to an animal that's been enslaved his whole life and you open the door, he won't even leave. He won't even leave the prison.
Yeah, it's very scary. Freedom is most scary because it takes so much responsibility and so much vulnerability and the willing to completely open. So going from the caterpillar to the butterfly is, for many, terrifying. And that's what is occurring right now in the next few months, few years. That's what life is asking to humanity, to let go the mask of the caterpillar and spring there and open their wings and fly. And that's why it's very important, the work of the artist and the scientist and all those people that are a little bit more connected and they are able to offer their gifts. Right now, they are going to be more and more in demand. Until now, the system have been doing everything possible to distract the masses from individual like us, but now the system is crumbling, and the people will find harder and harder to get lost into entertainment, into whatever, the narrative of the society. It will not be sustainable anymore because it is based on a lie. And as I said in my first album, which is called Unfolding Secrets, all the secrets right now are unfolding. Yeah. They are all coming, all the occult, all that things that have been occulted from us needs to be seen, put on the table, and eventually through the highest level of frequency that we have, which is appreciation, through appreciation to let them go. Pretty much like you hug the actors at the end of a story when the curtain open up and everybody are clapping, and the good and the bad and the ugly are all hugging and holding hands and hugging and say, wow, that was an amazing show. And now everybody goes back to unity, That is the shift that needs to occur.
Yes, yeah. And that's what people are experiencing doing the quantum disentanglement, that all these pieces that have been shattered through the omniverse, they're coming back to us, and they're highly traumatized, yeah. And they're terrified of themselves, and they don't think it's safe to be authentic. They all have that seed, that essence, the authenticity. And yes. But when you bring it, like you say, unconditional love, no judgment. You can be in a grouchy mood. You can want to kill me. You're part of me. Come home to my heart. And then these parts realize they are safe. And the synthesis process is organic, natural. evolutionary step where all the parts with all their great lessons and their potential and their woundedness and the lessons of the dark side and their pain are resynthesizing into the heart core, and there is a new human being born. Do you see it that way, Marco?
Yes, it is a rebirth, absolutely. It's like the end of the cycle and the beginning of a new one. So definitely we are going back to our original blueprint, because in the last 10,000 years, we really haven't had the opportunity to have a true human experience. Most of us doesn't even know what it means to be human just yet, because we've been inside this bubble with a DNA that is 95% off, with the pineal gland that is shut down, with all what makes us humans basically reduced to like a very small 1%. And so now we are into the reawakening, and we are going back to the original print. However, there is no such thing as going back, because in the meantime, the operative system of humanity has upgraded, and we have learned so many lessons. So we are going back, but now we are completely new. So there's like a paradox. We are going back to our origin, but now we are like much, much more evolved than the original blueprint of being humans.
Yes. So do you think everyone's going to make it? It doesn't seem possible. It seems to me that many, I mean, there's so many theories, and we don't need to go there. But the ones with ears and hearts to feel and ears to hear, you know, because they're coming to you, they're coming to me, they're coming to people like us. I wish there were a lot more, to shed the snakeskin, to shed the distortion, to shed the corruption from inside, where we've made, I mean, our ancestors have cut deals to go along with this to survive. And so there are, you know, we have forced agreements when we came in, like you said, mind wipe, forget who we are, serve the matrix. And we can break those. And when we bring that essence, the energetic essence, and we can stand in the unknown and not try to program it and be a control freak and be in fear. Just listen, like you listen and let it come through. Then life becomes quite a journey and quite miraculous. Even now, Marco, I mean, it is so gruesome out there. I mean, it's like, I hear so many of my friends going, I want this over. It's like, how do you want to wake up in a world that looks this terrible, this full of gloom, and you have to wear a mask and cover your identity and do things that are against your human design and go along with a police state that's going down globally? I mean, lots of people committing suicide. People are so depressed. And yet this part of us is coming on stronger than ever before. I feel a joy, it's like it's crumbling, and I'm looking around like, oh, there's so much more room now. Where are my playmates? Are you experiencing something like that?
Yes, all this contraction that we are experiencing, particularly right now, are helping us to shift from hope to knowing.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Because we always want hope, but hope isn't really what we should be looking for, is it?
Hope, like faith, hope, they are beautiful experiences. However, they still have a subtle dependency on outside circumstances. So you are hope that things get better. So you are sending a message to yourself, I'm not really powerful enough to establish if things goes better or not. I don't take full responsibility. I put my part of me in the hands of the outside circumstances, and I hope that they get better. Once you shift from that to knowing, where you know that things are better now you are in back into your full power. Now you are the creator, and now it doesn't matter what happened outside, because you don't hope anymore. You're not hoping, and I hope that Trump does a good job, No, you know.
We're projecting everything onto these politicians.
Yeah.
It's really a waste of our energy. I mean, yes, we love them and may they do a good job, but this is the problem. And a lot of these great ones of Trump and even Q, they're not saying sit back and let them do it. That is
No,
not their message. They're,
no.
you're going to have to do it. But there is a massive disconnect there, you know, and in your audiobook, I found that the key places where I crashed and burned, I junked my life, and where students of mine, key places, key incidents, key traumas, it's like you go through them like the Koan, you know, like Zen moment by Zen moment. But as this beautiful boy in your book goes through it, he makes the right choice. He doesn't cave into despair. He doesn't give up to rage. He doesn't give up to the feeling that the abandonment is true. He makes a different choice. He sees beyond it with his eternal being that isn't damaged. And when I heard that in your book, I could feel the part of me that had made the wrong choice, like listening, like, oh, I could have made that choice. So it's like a rewriting of the, and that in some pace it felt like, wow, I never made that. I didn't even know I could make that choice. I mean, things look so gruesome that I thought the only choice I could make was to go along with the control grid, you know?
Of course.
So yeah, that's what and part of me was angry at you. Like, how can he be so bloody positive? Oh, he just doesn't get it. He doesn't suffer it as much as me. If he'd been through all the hell I've been through, he wouldn't be so high and mighty and like
Right.
weak just trends, you know. And then I would be like angry at you through part of this.
Yes, yes. Well, you can also look at the story as as the entire story of the soul, not necessarily related to just this incarnation, but that's a story of the whole journey of the soul, which is hundreds and thousands of incarnations. You know, it's
Yes.
not that so that's a summarization of many, many, many lifetimes.
I really hope people get this music and listen and experience this, especially people who are doing the inner work or even want to do the inner work, because I think it could be a deal breaker. Uh, it's impossible with our minds to understand how diving into that depth of pain could be inspiring and even joyous at the other end of the pain and the agony. This is not our programming. It's just not our programming. And I mean, the masses of people are running from themselves like they were the plague. That is the plague, the virus to avoid ourselves, and then it's epidemic. That's how
Yes.
they could lock down the entire planet in one day. Can you believe they? I mean, to me, that is one of the most disheartening things to see, that they could lock us all down and still have us locked down to this day. I mean, there are some protests, but wow, it's a pretty big wake up call to see what we have become.
Yeah. It's very interesting to see how everybody immediately obeyed uh, to to ideas that are nonsensical completely. It's very, very interesting.
If you think, I guess this is trauma-based mind control, in that the mind is shut down. When you're in fight or flight, your mind is out to lunch. You don't have a mind. I think people are in a perpetual state of this now.
Well, not necessarily. I think that this is actually was a beautiful, at the same time, was a beautiful gift because it triggers so much awakening. I mean, before it was like the mouse that ran in the wheels forever and ever and goes nowhere. And this broke the wheels, broke everything, and put the mouse in a situation where I say, okay, now I have to think about something. I have to, So it in a way is a wonderful gift, and in my opinion, it's working. However, there is still a lot of people that are quite unconscious. But even the most unconscious, this event planted a seed. And I don't know, every individual will choose how long the seed will need in order to become the most beautiful flower. But now the seed is there, and so there is no going back. a lot of people are trying to go back how it was before, and they feel discombobulated because you cannot just go back to how it was before. There's not any more possibility to go back there.
No, and everyone, well, yes, when is it going to be over? When is it just, which is a really bad idea, because they'll use that. They'll create some hocus pocus synthetic hopium dopium world, and but I don't even think they're going to be able to be honest. I think the forces of life itself are, we have politics. Yes, we have some wonderful people coming to our system, many things. But I think the force of nature itself, or whatever you want to call that, the source, it's done. It's done. And you have to decide now where you're going to be. Are you going to go down, the black hole? Or are you going to be part of this new creation and alchemize everything and embrace? It's a choice of love or annihilation. I think everyone at some fundamental level is going to make that.
Yeah, I think for people like us, the most important thing is to remove from our system the need that others wake up. Because if we need it, then we are in contraction. Then we have an expectation. Then there is an ego that is not dwelling in neutrality, but still indulging into this is right, this is wrong, you shouldn't do this, you should do this, and we need to release that completely if we want to be completely effective in our gift offering, because we have to remove the expectations from the formula, from the creative process. The first thing you remove is the expectation, so you are not corruptible and you maintain yourself in neutrality. And then creative source can express itself at full force, because there is no an ego that is concerned about the outcome. It's concerned about being understood, being validated, being successful. All that stuff needs to be removed completely.
But we have to make money, right? No, you're absolutely right. You have to stand in impeccability to bring this uncorrupted reality. And that's really something. That's an artistry. That's a mastery.
And that's what we all have to master eventually.
So you're saying don't engage in, do you share information? Like, let's say somebody comes out with a really great one exposing this person. Just everything within this dialogue, just step back from it and create the new? Is that what you're recommending? Or so not protest, not be against. But what about demonstrations for? I mean, what kinds of actions don't corrupt the pure intent and abort the birth?
Well, it's being fully ourselves, and don't let this to distract you from who you are and what is your intent and what is your direction. So no matter what is happening, no matter what tsunami is occurring outside, it doesn't take you away from your center. You stay into who you are and you keep operating from that level. And so when there is a time to say no, you say no. A good disobedience to the system is very effective if there is no fear. If there is
just burning down their house in the process, you're saying no, you're not being an act of destruction. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you just say no. For example, you take off the mask and say, thanks, so this is an experience that I'm not interested in. It's interesting thoughts, but I'm not interested to this. And you keep going, you move on your own path, So you have to connect with, right now the work is within, is to connect with your inner truth and operate from that level. And inevitably, while you do that, immediately all the fears will come to surface. He will say, oh my God, if I cannot do this because I have a fear of that, or what if they arrest me, or they give me a ticket, or what are the consequences? So the fear of the consequences needs to be addressed. And that's the work that we all need to do right now. So the outside is mirroring our internal fears. Our internal fear are crystallized by an appearing, an outside reality. But the outside reality cannot be fixed. You have first to fix it within yourself. It's like when you are in front of a mirror, and you want your reflected face to smile, you have to smile first. Otherwise, the mirror will never do that for you. Right?
That's right. That's right. Well,
So,
that's classic Jungian psychology, shadow projection, and the entire global arena, all the everything that's happening out there is what we haven't owned and faced within ourselves, and would even take all of humanity. Even if there's a small group that actually face it all the way, it creates a different potential within the collective unconscious. Then the 100th monkey, then that one does it, and this one just does it. It might have taken you your whole life, like with a machete breaking through, but you've created a hole now, and now there are people pouring through that hole. This is how it's going to change. But everything in the media, everything in our education is look outside, look outside, look outside. This is where it's important. This is where you have to play by design.
Yes. So when I 3 years ago again, I got internal inputs that I have to do this, I didn't say, oh, no, look, I have to survive, I cannot do this, because I didn't allow the fear coming from the ego to sabotage this creative process. So, but this creative process that comes through me I'm not just a lucky one. It's a creative process happen to everybody. It's just most of the people don't hear it because they are so taken by their survival mechanism, by their scarcity mechanism, which is all created through our consent. So the 1% elite that is controlling the planet in the game of polarity can do so only through our fear, through our consent, because they are completely powerless and they are not particularly intelligent. They are just because they have lost their right, the female energy. So they are only left brain and operate only from a disconnection. So they don't integrate life in their thinking. So the operation, of course, is empty of love. So you can say it's evil. And there is an astuteness, there is an intelligence, but it's not even close comparable to our power. We are immensely more power than these few souls who are playing a role for us to have an experience, right? So all we have to do is just to acknowledge the fact that without our consent, these people cannot do anything. So we have to take away our consent and stop consenting and start to focus on our creative forces, our imaginative forces. Now, many people are so disconnected that they don't even believe that they have an imaginative force within themselves. They don't even believe that they are special. They have been indoctrinated to believe that they are small and insignificant and completely powerless. And so for those people, I guess a strong shaking is like, you know, the typical person that is completely unconscious and is all career focused, and he does all the things to have success in society. And so he doesn't acknowledge the beauty of life, acknowledge love. It doesn't acknowledge his family. It doesn't acknowledge his gift inside you, because it's all taken by the ego-based idea of success. And then he gets a big cancer
Yes.
And then you said, the doctor says you have 2 weeks to live. And now all of a sudden, this shaking, remove the ego and finally start to allow himself to hear his true voice, which is the voice of the soul. And then what happened? That miraculously, he abandoned the career, he abandoned all those ego, insignificant success, and he started to acknowledge his child, his wife. He wants to paint again, to do what he used to love to do when he was a child. He reconnect himself to, but he needs to a big slap, a big motherly slap. And I think what's happening right now with all this mess, this is a big slap for humanity to, hey, you shake it out. So bring the polarization to the polarity to such a level of saturation that it collapses.
Yes, and there's talk of the silent majority, and I sense it's there. People who aren't exactly on the streets or taking, really dramatic action, but they are going through that process. They got locked in their homes for months. They did have time to play with their children. They had to look at their life, even because there was no escape. And in some ways, that is a blessing. That is. But now we need to snap out of it and engage in this process. And really, really engage in it.
Yeah, and that's the work that people like you, people like me, who are not lost into the world of form, they are not identified with the world of form, has the privilege to do right now, together with a tremendous amount of help we are receiving from the stars, from Mother Earth. I mean, everything is pushing us towards the awakening process. Even people like Trump, he's doing his job. He's being a facilitator. They are all doing a good job.
I know there's a Trump derangement. So let's not go, Trump for Trump, this one against.
Right.
But I'm sorry. Bravo. Anyone who takes this on and says there's fake news and is speaking the truth to the deep state, excuse me. We have so many gifts. It's a mess. But you're right. If we focus on the mess, because energetically, because it's also, it's pretty fascinating. Oh, what are they doing today? What did this one say? What did that one say? Did this one get arrested? Is that one in Gitmo? Is JFK really cute? I mean, it's like, it's the super novella, Yes. And then you watch it, and then suddenly there's this thing that I get depressed and anxious, and it takes you over. It's like there's a bad spirit in the whole narrative that jumps in if you stay too long at that fair. I got to disengage and do what you're saying. It's harder, it's more challenging. It involves radical self-responsibility, but create something. Go in the garden, go barefoot, go help a child, shift the energy. I know friends that are watching the media right now, 6, 7, 8, 10 hours a day, and have been doing it for a year. And you look at them and it's like nobody's home. They're being absorbed into artificial intelligence, and they're brilliant and they see it all and it's fascinating. They don't get, you're getting absorbed. You're getting seduced. Stop it. And there's so little else out there. So it's really good to turn it all off and listen to Marco's music. I'm serious. Just lay down, open yourself up, and let it in. And a whole other world is unfolding. In some ways, I've never felt younger, better, more expansive. It feels like the cage is crumbling. And for those of us who have been just doing that consistent work to not be complicit with the cage, we can feel the fresh air on our faces. And it's there for everybody. Yeah, but if it's a choice, if you're going to keep looking through the looking glass into hell, you're going to be feeling kind of hellish after a while. It's all energy. Isn't it? I mean, this oneness, this unity, if that's true, then everything that you are focusing on, you're actually making love to, you're actually marrying, it's going through your field. And we don't realize this. You know, we are what we focus on too, to some extent. It just becomes us. I was just in a city. I live in a remote a mountain village in Ecuador, but I had to go to the city, to Cuenca, and which is a beautiful town. But it's you know, hundreds of thousands of people wearing these masks, and the energy, the collective thought form being empowered by that much fear and unconsciousness and inhumanity, and the children wearing it felt like it was pinging me with horrible pellets. It I just had to defend myself against it and it took me a few days to even clear the energy out of my field before I could feel the beautiful flow of my heart and my connection to nature again. I'm a highly sensitive person, but that is happening to everybody in these big population areas. It's, well, of course you're in Rome, so I can't say everybody, and you're still smiling. How do you do that?
Well, again, it's just a good workout in practicing neutrality.
Neutrality. So that isn't heartlessness. Neutrality isn't, well, you're so cold. You just never have enough feeling. I mean, you're talking about massive, deep feeling and neutrality. So
yeah, neutrality basically is not to be cold at all. Quite the opposite. Is removing the emotional charge when you find yourself in front of a situation. So and when you remove the emotional charge is the moment where you can be most effective, because now you are operating from your center, not from your emotional swings. So you're not reacting now. You are operating from centeredness.
well, it's true. Most of us are operating from fetal and infantile desire to return to the womb, having to have survived what in many cases was a terrible mother. A mother couldn't connect with us, and she was the total environment. We couldn't anchor into unconditional love. And so we anchor into government, we anchor into religion, we anchor into the matrix. We're trying to find that place to anchor, to grow ourselves up. But most of us are actually, we think we're so intelligent and advanced. Most of us are emotionally looping in programs of, I'll do anything for love. You know, I'll bend over, I'll buy the matrix, I will sell my soul to Satan. No problem. Just love me. Am I cute? How's my hair look? I mean,
Right.
but I mean, zillions of us, billions of us, we are completely trapped in looping of unprocessed early trauma. And it's not that, so there's no neutrality in that world. It's all, give me, I got to get what I didn't have because I'm stuck. And,
Yes.
and until we get, wait a minute, stop the grabbiness, you know, there's nothing to grab. And that takes a deep inner work and self-mastery, and it just seriously stubborn determination. I mean, you have to have, right? I mean, I fall off the ride all the time. I'm not Miss Perfect. I've made it out of the matrix. I'm in a cosmic warriorship all day, every second, because I'm saying no to it. But we have the capability of winning at this point, and that's what they don't want us to know. And I think you are embodying it with such a remarkable level of creative, bringing that creative, because the music like yours, I mean, you know, back in the day, when I would be maybe on mushrooms or really good acid. I'm not recommending everyone do this, but back in the day when you would blow out of ego and you would just be in that oneness, and you can get there without the drugs. But I was on Kauai, and I had taken a few of their magic mushrooms in this incredible valley with these unbelievably gorgeous stalactites and gods. And I heard music. There was no radio on. I heard music that sounds so much like the music you make that I believe it comes directly from the divine. I think that the language of music is the divine language of
It
the
is.
soul. And maybe one day or in other places, that's how we'll be communicating. This language thing is primitive.
Absolutely. The musician soon will become a doctor.
Exactly, in a very profound way. And I also had the experience that the hardcore essence, which has been the target, to shatter that, to break it up so it's full of body armor, but it's also it's shattered, it's incoherent, and all the incoherent, unresolved emotions are a frequency match for it. I feel that your music is creating coherence in the heart, which allows the ancient operating system. Like you said, people ask me, well, how come you're so psychic? Why can't I hear source? It has something to do with this coherence, bringing it back and being true, like you said, being true to love in the simplest way. And then these blessings descend. They're there for everyone, but aren't there certain initiations, certain things you have to do before you get this full creative capacity, for example, that you have? Is that like the world's longest question or what? Sorry, but there's certain,
No,
I mean, you were saying there's this huge potential and it's there for everybody.
yes.
I'm not trying to say there's a price for it, but there's an initiative process, a cleansing, a clearing, a making pure of the heart. I don't know how you would describe it, but I'm interested in hearing.
Well, it's everybody, I would say not everybody, but most of the people in the planet have within themselves the life force of source. No matter how small is the flame, it's still there. So we need to find the courage, the strength, and the determination to reconnect with that flame and start to feed it in order that it grows into the big fire. And we need to use resonance as our way to find the way out, resonance versus dissonance. So that is more like a female action where you bring to surface your intuition in order to discern what is working for you and what is not. And so that is and you might fail many times because fear take over. But if you are persistent, eventually you start to make little step. And then of course, as you move towards in that direction, you start to also attract help from outside. You will start to, because your vibrational offers start to change. And so now you start to tune in to different aspects of the physical experience, where now you have access to people that are a little bit more enlightened, they're a little bit more aware. And so you keep going like that, you keep doing like that, you keep facing your fears and taking action, facing your fear and taking action. So
Yes, absolutely. And and I know your music, and do you do mentoring of people, like counseling of people as well? Can they have a session with you, or how would they engage with you? Or is it just get the music, listen to it, get the books, and just use it as a tool in that way?
well, in the last few years, I've been starting to engage with a lot of people also at the level of conversation in order to share my insights. I don't consider myself a teacher, but in a way, I am always open to share my point of view, share my founding, share where I am at the moment of my life. And in that sharing, it might come some teaching also for myself, because every time somebody asks me a question, I always find an answer. I give an answer, but I didn't know myself either.
Yeah, that happens, huh? When you're in the, yeah, we're getting new
Right.
data. Sometimes we're in
So yes, I do. I'm open to have dialogue. Sometimes I have sessions where I talk to people. I share what it feels going on to me, and it's getting actually more and more often that this occur. Although fundamentally I am an artist, but now the artist is getting requests that are more 360-degree, where you're not just playing your instrument or painting your canvas, you're also talking to people, you're sharing your founding. When you tap to source and you bring into 3D a tangible form, that experience needs to be also shared through your words. And so because that, I'm allowing also to speak and to share at the words level, not only at the music level.
Well, that's wonderful. And at the end here, we can give a way to contact you. I'm sure it would be really helpful for people who maybe have not been doing this as long as you, just to be in contact, just because
Yes.
there is a sparking and an energetic exchange. It's when somebody holds us, and I'm not saying this on an ego level, when somebody has done the work to embody this much of his soul, then interacting with such a person sparks your own soul, even on a telepathic level. It's not even the words, it's just sharing the love, sharing the yes between the two of you, that, oh, that part of me's in there too. Wow. It's the magic that happens when it's an alchemy. And
Yes.
I just, yeah. So, yeah, I've also find that in the quantum disentanglement, we often do either 5 sessions or we do a 6-month thing where people who are all venturing on this kind of journey support each other. They don't tell each other how to fix each other or give advice or create some deep intimate, but they just hold space for each other to emerge, which we've never had, most of us, in our lives. And just that field of witnessing each other in unconditional love, uh, it's a big help, because it's really toxic if you don't have that kind of environment. Or even if you just have a Marco to go through, or a Sienna to contact, or somebody else in your life, or a dog. I mean, I had a dog that was so psychic and so tuned in and was so evolutionary. She advanced me hugely just because of our pure telepathic love connection.
Yeah, fundamentally, there is a two situation at this moment. There is people that are ready, they want to change, and some people that they are still needing to stay in the same frequencies. So people like us can provide help only to those that are open to consider other ways, to consider new possibilities. The other one might be affected by music, for example, maybe. But even for those, even this music would be too intense. They would turn it off and turn on some other music that is a little bit more in the entertainment frequencies.
Yeah, your music really opens up the heart. I mean, and it has I wouldn't say melancholy. Sometimes there's great joy and exuberance, like the Dolph, but there's sometimes there's this exquisite sorrow. And your music, because it's so scary right now to feel deep feelings, it is. And if you're going through a lot, or you're struggling with money, or you're struggling with people who are really sick or whatever, we tend to shut down. But when I close the door, listen to your music, it feels safe for my heart to start processing some of that. And it's like coming home to my heart, because my heart had to go through that whole day feeling sad and lost and a little scared and lonely, but I couldn't feel it because I had to. But now I have time just being with the music, just being with myself with your music. And then our self loves us so much because we gave ourselves that attention, and the healing and integration that wants to happen starts to get permission, because now we're opened up, and now that process is initiated again. So I would imagine just listening to the music for people who are struggling but really do want to make this transition, it'd be an incredibly helpful tool. There's I'm finding music in this transition is just almost like water and air. It's that essential for those of us who are trying to keep our hearts open in the
Yes,
middle of
also
this.
the emotion of sadness, of pain, or these are very powerful emotions and can either shut you down or can actually trigger in you, can inspire you to do something about it. You know, when I felt sadness, I was 3 years old. That sadness, rather than shut me down and go and be in line with all the rest of the group, it actually inspired me to. It triggered me the desire to act. I mean,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
that's the opportunity that also this kind of intense frequencies, internal emotions can create. So if they can help you to get out of your way, it can inspire you to go out of your way.
Well, yes, because these are huge boulders that are blocking your path to a joyous, elevated reality. Now, your book, oh no, this is the music. Abandonment is the first one, right?
Yes.
So I was starting to just take a quick dive through these before we conclude to see if there's anything more you wish to say about the stages of the journey that you created through your 9 uh, cuts of the music.
Yes.
Yes. So there's
So
yeah.
yeah, the abandonment. So the journey begins when the soul, in his ethereal, formless environment, is about to scan through the infinite possibilities for his new adventure, right? And so he scanned through millions of galaxies and densities and realities and form and shapes. And as he does that, he gets fascinated by this little tiny pulsing blue-green planet. And he becomes curious about it. And so he goes, and as he look into the curriculum that this experience has to offer, the curiosity become enthusiasm, it become passion, and then finally it become a yes. And instantly, of course, the soul doesn't know what time is, so it's always instantly. The moment he says yes, he finds himself at the verge of this huge, how you call it, vessel, which is the entrance. And so, for after a glimpse to his environment, like saying, "Okay, I'm going to for the adventure. I'll see you later," he let himself fall into the vessel, and as he fall, he start to forget who he is. He start to he start to have a body. He start to experience the density of having a body, and as he entered the fetus of the mother that he has chosen, at that point, he has completely forgotten who he is. And now, and he, for the first time, he, he feels his first emotion. And his first emotion is the abandonment.
Yes.
He feels abandoned. He doesn't know from what he feels abandoned, but he feels that it's been fragmented. He feels the separation, and the separation feels this abandonment. I'm abandoned. I'm alone. I'm
That's
not
the core
unity.
wound. That is the core
Right,
wound beyond all the other abandonments.
right.
Yes.
And so that is the beginning of the story of the
Yeah.
book.
And the choices you make in your book and your music, and the choices a lot of my students make, because we go through a lot of the primal release sessions where they're like, "I'm not going to be here. No, you can't. Screw you." And like this is huge rage, and that then creates, I refuse to accept this reality. I'm going to create this ego and these false realities and never have faced the pain of it. But in the book, you make a different choice at that point. You make it You make a choice for life to go through the experience. And it's very clearly stated in your book. And it's like, to me, it's like a rewriting. To hear it was my inner baby going, oh, I could have made that choice. Whoops. I want to make that choice now.
Exactly.
And, I want to make that choice now. And we can, because it's not just our experience that determines our unconscious patterning, the subconscious words, images, music, experience. We can go in and create new and replace the original one. And your material is rich with that opportunity, because at every point you make a choice for life, whereas most of us made the other choice under severe duress. So that's the cosmic abandonment one. Were you complete with that? Because I'd kind of like to go through these, since this is the journey we all are on, really.
Yes.
Okay,
So
yes.
the abandonment, and then the abandonment led me to an observation, a recognition of the environment. And in that environment, I saw fear, I saw separation, I saw anguish, I saw mask, not authenticity, lack of authenticity out of fear. And that kind of evaluation of my environment, it made me sad. I start to feel sad. And that sadness, it was a beautiful feeling. I had tears in my eyes all the time. I felt the sadness that comes from the heaviness and the contraction of the collective. And I used that sadness. For me, it was paradoxically was a wonderful experience, because it triggered, as I said, it triggered in me the desire to do something about it.
Yes.
So I didn't embrace the program of victim.
I'm going to make you love me no matter what. I'm not going to, that neuroticism, I'm not going to accept this sadness. I'm going to get what I want. And every person I ever meet is going to be the victim of my unswerving attempt to reverse this original abandonment.
For me, I was using all these emotions in a creative way. So I would say, okay, sadness, what I can do with sadness? What is it that I can do with this amazing energy field? Let me see, right?
It's beautiful.
Abandonment, what I can do with abandonment now? Interesting. Okay, let me see what I can create with abandonment, And in that desire, I discovered that my tendency was going to the sound, to music. Music seems to be the conduit for me from the emotions, the artificially created emotion of the brief earth experience, with my original blueprint, like yours, which is the source. So music was the conduit. So I was taking sadness and I was downloading music and creating music from that sadness, and see how that and that was like a healing tool for me. It was the way to don't get lost into the sadness, but appreciate sadness. And that appreciation immediately took me to the next step.
Yes, it's true. Your music, the sadness, your music is like loving the sadness. And
Yes.
so it loves our sadness. So our sadness finally gets seen and heard and felt, which is all we ever needed anyway, is, oh, you're feeling that. And then we can let it go. The music actually does that. Mm-hmm. Wow. Go ahead, though. So then what happens with the sadness?
The sadness took me to...
I wrote down separation, the womb, connection to mother, family, how the baby absorbs the world, loneliness, then the
that's still part of abandonment and sadness. But that the full diving into these emotions eventually took me to a place where I started to appreciate the journey. I started to appreciate humanity. I started to appreciate being human. I started to see, and I started to feel an amazing love for the whole, no matter how fragmented it was and separative was. I started to feel a profound love for everything and everybody. And so I remember at that point, I was probably, I don't know, 6, 7 years old. And what I would do during the day, I would dive into the day like every other kids, and I would feel, the bad, the good, and the ugly. I would feel moment of abusiveness. I would feel moment of anxiety, separation that was projected from the environment, moment of joy, moment of fun. So there was a whole swing of emotion that I would feel. And most of them were contracted, were artificial, were unnatural. But then when I would go home at the end of the day and I would close my eyes and lay on the pillow ready to go to sleep, I would revisit the whole, all the people that crosses my day and made me happy or made me suffer or made me whatever. And I would feel love for all of them.
This just happened.
Yes, and I would cry joy and appreciation for all the character of that created my day. And that process, it kind of reset me so that the next day I would start fresh. I wouldn't carry with me the resentment and the heaviness of what happened yesterday. Now I'm going to do it again. I would start again like first day of my life.
That's what we all need to do.
Yes.
That's the problem. We're carrying all this bitter. Yes.
And with this kind of this process, I tried to make it accessible to everybody through the music. So I would go to the music and create something that would allow people to feel the way I would feel at the end of the day, when I would close my eyes and feel appreciation for everything.
Yes, and you've done that. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Because we're losing our humanity. We're getting absorbed into artificial intelligence and our cell phones, and we don't even want to feel but you making feelings so delicious, even this deep, deep abandonment and sadness.